What is the Alexander technique? I like to think of it as a practical philosophy of everyday living. What does that mean? Well, it is a somatic practice that helps one become aware of and ultimately change their unconscious habits of mind, of body, of even spirit to a certain extent, and become more aware of the unconscious, and then through conscious directed thought, be able to choose anew. We often hear about it in the maintenance of chronic pain, particularly back pain, but we'll also hear about it a lot for performing artists or anyone, even athletes, who has to work with their body. Because as actors, singers, instrumentalists, dancers, the body is essentially the instrument, even if you're playing another instrument. You won't be able to hit all the notes or play the phrases with the same articulation that you need to if there's too much tension in the system. Alexander is really looking at where is there the appropriate amount of tension in the muscles, the fascia, the overall organization of the body. So it starts with some ergonomics. It starts with understanding where your hip joints are. We don't bend from the waist, we bend from our hips. And when this body mapping gets clearer, we're actually able, yes, just to start moving more fluidly and connectedly. We're able to alleviate a lot of pain that comes from just a lack of understanding about human physiology. And so a typical lesson, if it's in a classical sense, will involve getting in and out of a chair for about 20 minutes with a teacher, because even though it seems very mundane, getting in and out of a chair is actually a very complex activity. It requires a unique set of different movements that have to happen in concert. And that way we can talk about the organization of the head, the neck, and the back for most optimal movement. But what's interesting is after a few lessons, what becomes more evident are the habits of mind, the habits of thinking that are also constraining us or creating extra tension. And the second part of the lesson would either be working on an activity like singing or playing an instrument or tying a shoe. But more often than not, which is very popular, is doing table work, which is where the teacher can give you a different kinesthetic experience of your body by allowing your nervous system to come into a more integrated state so that you can actually learn to move without some of those habits that have been, in essence, getting in the way of yourself. So Alexander technique is about getting out of our own way. Posture is a benefit and a side effect of the Alexander technique, but we can take any shape and be free. So for example, if I'm playing Richard III in a production, he was a hunchback. I need to be hobbled. So the Alexander technique allows me to create a certain shape, but to do it in the freest way so that I don't overall hurt myself. So similar to how Vedic meditation makes everything better by bringing the nervous system into balance, the Alexander technique will allow you to study or acquire a skill in the freest, most capacious way possible.